Wilson here. In this episode, we're talking to the one and only Beth Babin, an authentic Texan. We're going to ask her about what makes Texas Texas. We're going to ask her about those freakish snowstorms they had in a place that's supposed to be very hot and dry. We'll ask her about Austin and why it's so Austin when the rest of Texas is so Texas. And we'll talk to her about horrible, nasty physical injury, which sadly Beth experienced recently, and how one processes that or does not process that. If you want to support the show, please go to adamehwilson.com. That's Adam E.H. Wilson. There's an E and there's an H in there because there's a million other Adam Wilsons. You can also go to my YouTube channel and like and subscribe. Interestingly enough, it's Adam E.H. Wilson on YouTube as well. You can tell your family, you can tell your friends, and most of all, thanks for listening. Away we go. Hello, I'm here with Beth Babin. It's already funny. Beth is a great person, but you know what? We're going to have her introduce herself, starting with Beth, who are you and where are you from originally?
Well, thank you for that intro. I am 30-year-old Texan. That's basically all we really need to know. I'm from Fayetteville, Texas, originally. Small town Texas. Not East Texas, but small town Texas.
Okay, so let's get clear on this because it's my impression that Texas is large and proud of its largeness. So what is the region, what do you say when you're like from Fayetteville? You're from Central Texas?
Central Texas is correct. Yeah, if you kind of think of Texas and you look at Austin and Houston, Fayetteville is smack dab in the middle of Austin and Houston. And you're right, Texas is big, and we're very proud of it. Every day, every single day.
Okay. For the listeners at home, Fayetteville is not far from LaGrange, like the LaGrange. Like
correct, like the LaGrange, like song. Exactly, the song LaGrange.
Yes.
That's the one. We're not far.
It's the bar fight song.
Minutes.
You are not far from the inspiration of the bar fight song.
And that's what I tell people.
Okay.
And that's, yeah.
And small, meaning like, I'm going to guess less than 2,000 people in Fayetteville?
It is considerably less than 2,000,
Less
Adam.
than 1,000?
It's less than 1,000. It's less than about 500.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because we're going to come back to that later. All right. Now we've established that you are from Texas, but you no longer live in Smallville. You live in Austin. Correct?
I do.
Yes.
Thank the good Lord.
Okay. Yes. We'll come to that too. But first of all, I understand that Texas is actually the center of the known universe. That's the impression I get when I check on Texas news. So is this true?
Absolutely. We are the center of every universe, not just the known one, but I assume all of the unknown ones as well. We pride ourselves in being the biggest and baddest in every single sense of the word.
Yeah, so like all the Spider-Men. The various Spider-Men. Yes. The center of their universes as well. Spider-Gwen, Spider-Ham.
All of them. Every single one. All of those Marvel movies, which I admittedly haven't watched, but if you just think of that, and we're the center of all of those.
Wow. That's amazing. Because I can't follow them either, but I understand now because they're set in Texas and that's a very large place. Exactly. But here's the thing. Texas is hot. Like it's supposed to be hot. Yes. But it's not always hot.
We learned that in 2021.
Like it sometimes gets cool. I mean, when I'm down there, it seems like when you're there in the summer, it's just like ungodly, especially as you get like in the Houston Gulf Coast area, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Just like super hot, super humid. But let's talk about normal winter weather, and then we'll talk about like recent winter weather. What's
Oh,
normal? Yeah.
fantastic. So, yeah, normal winter in Texas is phenomenal. It winter in Texas is what you dream of when you're thinking of perfect weather. We're usually, highs in the mid 60s to high 70s. Just really great. Ultimately, spring weather anywhere else in normal circumstances. But yeah, usually our winters are great. Our summers, like you said, are ungodly hot. I've lived here for 3 decades and I hate it more each year. Every year I go outside less, and our summers are half the year. So, needless to say, I'm inside half of the year.
Well, that's my impression of Houston in summer is like a series of dashes between air conditioned locales. You like leap out of the house, run to the car, start up the car, get the air conditioning going, and then drive to the lot, and then you like dash inside the building, which is also air
Oh yeah,
conditioned.
absolutely. You always before you leave your house, you think of, what is the shortest distance between 2 points. And you risk your life to do that to get there in the quickest way possible. I think that's why everyone in Texas probably has the auto start or push to start cars that you can start outside of
Oh, that's why
your
they
your
did
car.
that.
I I say this I say this completely I don't even know what to call them, and I still drive a 2008 Honda Civic, so clearly mine's not one of them.
Oh,
But everyone needs them to be running before you even get in it because it's so hot that you'll go 5 feet and you'll melt before you even get in the car.
oh, that's
Yeah,
brutal.
it's.
Yeah,
Have I sold you?
you've sold me. This is great. But then, no, wait, we're going back to the dreamlike state you exist in winter. Dreamlike. And then there was a
Exactly.
snowstorm, Beth. There was a big snowstorm that everyone in the country got to read about. So you're like an eyewitness, though. You saw it in real life.
Adam, this was absolutely insane. It was, and the fact of the matter is we have news or weathermen telling us consistently, like, oh, the sky is going to fall. We don't believe them
Right.
because it usually doesn't happen. Really, if you're not in the summer, it is very moderate weather here all the time, every day. Um, and for the week leading up to this, of course, they said it's severe winter weather, severe winter storm incoming. Everyone just shut their TV off, muted, disregarded it. We all went and bought a Carhartt beanie just because we thought that would be the cool thing to do in that particular moment. But then it it hit, and I kid you not, it hit overnight. It was so quick. We went from 80-degree weather to 28-degree weather or 32-degree weather, but we don't see snow. And if we see snow, it falls, it melts, it's done. That's the end. It started falling, it kept falling, and then we realized we don't have snow plows. We don't know how to walk in the snow. We don't have snow boots. We don't have winter coats. Um, no one has snow tires. No one can drive in the ice. So everything shut down.
That's
Seven
awesome.
Elevens shut down. Convenience stores shut down.
What? 7-Eleven shut down?
Oh yeah, Seven
Oh,
Eleven.
wow.
It's
That's crazy.
it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And it lasted 10 days. We were close to 10 days below freezing, which hasn't happened in decades. The last winter storm we really had that was even close to this was in 2011. But yeah, we hadn't seen anything like this. And so
Yeah, below freezing for 10 days. So it's not like, oh, we got hit, on Tuesday and it was really cold and everyone freaked out and then we collapsed. But like this is like a long period of time with which you have to deal with the, yes, never before seen, experienced, felt. So like how much snow are we talking about? That's
in certain areas we got between 6 and 8 inches of snow, which
that
is
seems like legit snow. That seems like real snow.
it was it was real snow. People were building real snowmen, the snowman's
It's
type.
okay.
Um,
Get your genders right, please.
exactly. Snow women's. No, normally when you build a snowman in Texas, when it snows here, quote unquote snows, people are just basically piling dirt into balls. Because
Yes.
this was real snow, snowmen everywhere, people literally sinking in the snow as they walked. It was really, really crazy. Texas didn't know what to do.
So I can sympathize with you so far because living where I do now, which is, I guess, if you want to imagine the country, it's like in the Seattle-ish area,
Mhm.
glorious Lacey, Washington, but it's on salt water, and it does not. It snows like once a year here, and so we have a similar experience where like everyone forgets how this worked last time. And there's like pandemonium and literally like, but what we have is not like blowing it off. Like, oh, it's not going to snow. It's like 7 days of countdown. The snow will be here on Thursday. Get ready. You have 5 days. You have 4 days. Do you have enough food? Like, and then what happens as soon as one snowflake falls, the first thing that happens here is like all the cocoa is bought out at Safeway. I'm not kidding. Like, go there, like, as soon as it starts snowing, and everyone tries to cram all of winter into that, like, 48-hour period where they, like, go and they buy the cocoa and they, like, get a bunch of fire logs and they're building snowmen and having hot cocoa and hot buttered rums and everything you can think of that's kind of winterish. They have to fit into that, like, that 2-day period. Um, and yeah, so they don't invest a lot in like equipment to deal with it. Like there are snow plows, but not that many. um, but I guess the thing is it happens enough that like there is kind of like a fire drill. It's a fire drill. It's like
Sure.
panic, but it's done occasionally. But Texas, and this is where, at first it's like, oh my gosh, look, it's snowing in Texas. But from the national news media coverage, it quickly proceeded to like, holy cow, they have no power. They were like, and okay, it's not funny, but people were like seriously hurt, So
Oh,
on a
yeah,
serious note, like there was like actual life and death situations going on to
absolutely.
go along with the sort of hilarious like falling and slipping stuff. But
Well, I mean, on the hilarious side, and speaking of that, it really is totally nuts. And
let's
and
stay
I
on the
was,
hilarious side.
at
It's so much
home.
more fun.
It is. It really is. I was at home and we're sitting here, and it's completely snowed in, ice everywhere. And I'm like, God, we can't go to the grocery store. I can't get groceries delivered. I'm gonna open up my food delivery app, which is called Favor. We use Favor a lot here, and I don't know if that's everywhere, but I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and favor things. We also use favor as a verb, evidently. And then I got just
You know,
so genuinely angry when it was like favor shut down. And I was like, well, why the heck is favor shut down? And I was just like, if I can't count on favor in a winter storm, what am I going to do? And we were all just completely confused by how to react. And I think it started off as that. It started off as this, okay, everything shut down. We can't get food. We can't get water, but we've got what we have at our place. And now it's just this kind of little fun winter weather storm for a couple days. And it quickly progressed to, holy crap, most of the state doesn't have power, or we're going through rolling outages. And which I will say I was very, very, very fortunate. I live kind of in the central downtown area, which means I was on the critical infrastructure for a lot of the hospitals, and fire department,
ah,
Austin Police Department.
hmm
So I never lost power, which was great and fantastic. And we had friends coming over to kind of take take refuge in the warmth and light, but so many people did. And it became, the original notices that we got were, um, hey, there's going to be some rolling outages. They'll be rolling. Your power will go off for 45 minutes to an hour. It'll come back on for a few hours, and it'll kind of go like that so that they could manage the grid properly. And not that that's convenient by any means, but it would have been okay. And what happened was some of these utility companies shut off some power, and then when the grid started to go down, they realized they couldn't bring it back up. They were only given so much capacity, and they said,
right.
oh crap, we just took down this entire neighborhood over here. And now it's not going to be a rolling outage. They're just going to be out.
The switch only goes one way.
Exactly. There's like, where's the on button? And it wasn't there. It had been effectively removed for a large part of the state. So it was absolutely nuts. And as you know, Adam, I'm in property management. So our buildings were going through these things. And again, luckily, a lot of our buildings are on the critical infrastructure here in Austin. But in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and San Antonio and Houston, we had high-rise buildings who were out of power, out of water, whose generator fuel was running out. So it quickly transpired into quite a catastrophic event. And I felt bad for being so darn angry about the favor not being able to give me my water with spicy ketchup.
Yes, the favoring of things and the snowmans. Yeah. The Texas accent is different than I expected. That is interesting because I don't think of when I think of like natural disasters in Texas, you think of like hurricanes, right? And you're probably prepared for those, but not so much like an ongoing power, because now you're out of power.
Yep.
And it's really cold outside. I don't know how many people have experienced it. Certainly it happens here frequently, because once you get enough snow around, then all the trees that are everywhere around here collapse onto the power lines, and then like the power goes out for long periods, and you forget how much you like electricity until it's gone.
You don't know what to have till it's gone. But I think that was, we lost power in a lot of our areas. And then the bigger concern that we started seeing was we lost some water in some areas because water plants began to freeze. And then that was exacerbated when temperatures started to rise and big water mains that had been frozen busted. So all of the water in Austin, specifically, I'll speak to Austin, but in several other cities, became potentially contaminated. So we couldn't drink the water. The whole city was on a boil water notice for several days.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Well, it's somehow both hysterical and terribly sad.
Yeah. The idea of the water plant freezing, like, like, oh no.
It's just,
we forgot to put the antifreeze in this stuff.
It's a terrible spiral. Power goes out at the plant, naturally it freezes, and it's like, why don't we have power? Oh wait, it was just this perfect storm. It really was, and perfect in the not perfect.
Yeah, perfect in the perfect storm phrase sort of way, not perfect in perfection kind of way. Yeah, so, all right, you're leading us into it because this is where we're going, Beth. Now we're going to talk about, so from the outside view, I thought turned pretty quickly to like, well, Texas brought this on itself. You know what I mean? Like, look at you. And it had a definite, I feel like I kind of like well, I don't have to feel, I could definitely find like stuff that says this is the politics of Texas. They, just didn't invest in their infrastructure, and they were running it thin, and they, I think there was a lot of finger pointing at the politics of Texas as being responsible for the plight of Texas here. Beth, is this true? Only one person knows, and I've got it right here. Tell
me. My answer is an assertive yes, Adam. It is. Everything was pointing fingers at politics, and I think I'm no expert, but there was definitely some deficiency in planning. There were a lot of people who said, well, there's no way in heck that Texas could have planned for this. That's not entirely true. We've had a few winter events, but all of this started, and it got so political so quickly. We weren't even focused on the fact that people were without power or were freezing or these sorts of things. It turned into this political nightmare, and it started with, well, this is what renewable resources will do for you. All of the windmills are frozen. And it's like, is that accurate?
Wow, I didn't.
These pictures of frozen windmills are just circulating the internet and being like, this is, Texas, this is why we hate renewable resources.
Or resources freeze.
It was
Look at them.
it was
Froze.
ridiculous. But then it came out that, yes, we had turbines that froze, but we had pipelines that froze. It was coal, it was oil, it was the winds. It was every single energy source that we had that was not winterized properly. And I mean, you can find a million different opinions online, and you say there's three sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth. But several people say Texas did have the chance to winterize, and we did not do it properly. And I think the crazy thing for me, which there's never been a time in my life where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn about utility grids.
You're right.
And I'm going
there's nothing. I'm tired of watching the same old shows on Netflix. I'm going to read up on my local PUD.
You know what? I'm done with Friends. We're going to talk utility grids. But I started, obviously, we dove into it a little bit more, and I realized that 90% of Texas is essentially on its very own utility grid versus the rest of the United States that is just on the east is on one, the west is on the other, and then in
Right.
Texas, again, biggest, baddest in the whole universe, we're like, we got our own. So that meant that we couldn't borrow from anyone else either. When we started, we couldn't ask our neighbors for help. Granted, at this point, if I was our neighbors, I probably wouldn't help us. Just like, no. But yeah, it really, I do think that there's a political side to it. I won't blame all of our politicians, but I will say that more could have been done to avoid the situation. And it really was bad. Luckily, we have a lot of people have been able to recover, but it's going to be a long recovery for a lot of people in Texas.
Yeah, they've got to shake off that memory, that cold, frosty day when the 7-Eleven was closed.
When I found out the 7-Eleven was closed, that's when I knew. That's when I knew things were going downhill.
Yeah, exactly. There's not even Frito-Lay available. Oh man. Well, I could see that because there's definitely an amount of investment and foresight you have to make. And I will before I even go into the other side of the story, the part of your isosceles triangle of truth there. There was, I thought, kind of an outrageous price gouging going on too, which I had never anticipated. But apparently, it was totally according to it sounded like it was in accordance with the rules laid out because it was this price per demand thing, right? Some people were paying for I'm going to pay a lot for when electricity's in demand and less when it's not, and that makes sense because it might encourage people to use it when it electricity is there's only so much supply, so if everyone uses it at the same time, that's bad, and then you have to keep building up more and more capacity just to handle the 6 o'clock microwaving hour, right? But other people, but then when there's no electricity and you get 6 watts, they can charge you $1,000 a watt because you got the only 6 they had.
Yeah, I mean, it got pretty bad. Now there's different utility jurisdictions or municipalities essentially. So there are some that have fixed rates that can't actually gouge without certain approvals and stuff like that. Specifically, Austin Energy here can't do that without city council approval, but there are several utility companies that can. And I mean, it was exorbitant price gouging. It was okay.
It wasn't price poking.
No,
it was a full gouge. It was
your normal average utility bill is $100. Here's $9,700. And anyway, have a good day. I hope you enjoyed everything that was happening. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I think that that's going to be a long-term effect. And people are still kind of going back and forth on what that looks like and what was really fair and reasonable. So great.
Yeah.
And I think,
listen,
I think with this whole thing, like you said, we're prepared for hurricanes, but you're always prepared for the last disaster and not the next disaster. You know what? Texas sure as hell. Now, I hope this doesn't come back to haunt me, but Texas sure as hell is going to be prepared for the next winter storm.
Yeah, we will be ready for winter storm.
We will be so ready.
Yeah. Oh, I totally feel it. It's on a personal level too. After like surviving for a couple of days without power a couple of times, I'm like, this time I'm ready. This time I spent those 5 days they gave me shopping every day for more and more things.
I have a LifeStraw right now. I don't know what I was going to really use. I mean, I knew what the LifeStraw was going to do for me. But,
it's a lifesaver.
It is. It's fantastic. But here's the thing. I ordered it midwinter storm, right when the water started going down and becoming contaminated or potentially.
And Amazon charged you $9,700.
Amazon gave me a bill for $17,000 for this LifeStraw. But no, they also couldn't deliver. So I got it a week later. So anyway, I have to go camping now to drink out of a spring.
It's a... Man, so we got like a LifeStraw side tangent here, but like give that to a kid anywhere and you'd think like they're like, oh, it's a straw. No. They will immediately take it to like the muckiest, nasty, like, I can drink anything. It's like hours of entertainment to watch them be like, look at this filthy mud hole.
You say kid, Adam, but that's exactly what I plan to do. I'm like, let's test it.
Yeah. But just
tells me it can
am I going to
this,
live or die? LifeStraw? Listen.
Exactly.
But of course you would say all this, Beth. Listen, you would say all this because you're from Austin. And my understanding is that people in Austin are like, you're the cool kids. Is that true? Are you the cool kids?
Oh, we are. You have a good understanding. Adam, you seemingly have a good understanding of Texas and Austin. Right. And yeah,
I do my research.
We are the cool kids. I've been in Austin. Yeah, good job. Google does you well. I've been in Austin for about 12 years, and I now call myself, I think I introduced myself as a Texan, but I should have. I'd like to redo that and just call myself an Austinite. And we do. We're the.
It's not Austonian. You're wicked.
No, it's. Well, oh my God, is it Austonian?
I don't know.
Have we been misnaming ourselves?
You fools.
Oh no. I'll report back. Is it? No, we're gonna go with Austinites.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the cool kids. The cool kids.
Yeah. Why is that? How did you become cool?
Let's use LifeStraws for example, as just
okay, yeah.
Let's tie it all together. I think if you give most people in Texas a LifeStraw, they'll think, okay, and this is also any Texans that might hear this are I'm going to get tomatoed or egged at some point. But I don't think all Texans would immediately think, well, this means I can go on a great nature hike and drink out of water and test things and go out and play in the outdoors and do all of these sorts of things. But Austinites, we'll get a LifeStraw and we'll say, wow, the possibilities. And then we go outside and we use it and we utilize it and we use our resources. And I think
folks couldn't see you just now, but you were like looking into the middle distance as you said.
I was literally imagining myself outside using my LifeStraw. And it was so great. I got overwhelmed. I think that's probably LifeStraw use is one of the reasons we're cool. I'd also probably say that, item number 2 on that is that the political part of the winter storm event that Texas saw, Austin had nothing to do with that.
Well, yes, we've already established that you had the anti-price gouging technology already in place.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
All right. So I came down and I visited you in Austin. Full disclosure, and I checked out his coolness. It did check out.
Yeah.
It has you have like a strip, which I'm blanking on now, but it's pretty sweet. Yes, thank you.
Yep,
Um, and you've got, of course, you're famous for the music scene.
we are.
Uh, mhm. Which whenever I think of Austin City Limits, by the way, I think of some show where it was like Beck and the Flaming Lips together, and some guy from the Flaming Lips was just like waving flashlights around. It was really great. I was
Was
like, this
this
is art.
this was a few years? This wasn't a few years ago. This was probably like 8 or 10 years ago, right? I was at a Flaming
Yeah.
Lips concert at ACL. So I was,
No.
yes, I was back
Oh
there.
my gosh.
Yeah,
That was probably you.
it was.
I thought, is that Beth right there?
It was me actually doing all of the light show.
Wow.
I do that in my
You're
spare time.
good. You're very good.
Yeah.
You're good.
hmm No, we have the music scene. I mean, we have Austin City Limits, and we've got Live, we've got Moody, that kind of entire situation. But we also have the festival, the ACL Festival, which is 2 weekends a year, excuse me. And then we've got South by Southwest too, that dabbles on the music side, also kind of brings in the tech and movie. Is it movie? Cinematography? We'll go with movie.
Whoa.
Movie
Cinema?
scene.
Film?
So yeah, I mean, okay. So Adam, when you asked why we were cool, you weren't talking about LifeStraws or politics.
No, I'm exploring the universe of coolness. Like when Spider Ham shows up in the center of his universe, which is probably Austin, Texas, full of pigs. Like,
Correct.
what are they doing? They're like drinking out of life straws and going to concerts and
Listening to music.
looking around, going like, what are the possibilities?
We've also got the capital, or the capital of Texas.
You know, yes, yes. Okay, so I'm an aficionado of state capitals. Well, that's probably overstating it. I appreciate state capitals. I don't like actually like go and sample them and be like, this one has a definite air of regalness. But Austin's, that was a hoot. That was so great. It was like the guy who gave me Jessica and I the tour. I am not kidding you. Had a snakeskin eye patch. He did.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
I felt like, Texas was born under the god of war because like 90% of what's in there, like depictions of, battles and winning and kicking ass and,
Yeah,
it's pretty intense.
Even the battles we didn't win, if you go into the Capitol, we won them. We
Yeah, exactly. And here's the part where we valiantly defeated the people who were picking up afterwards. Yes.
Correct. It's all winning.
Yeah.
There's no losing. Even the losing photos are winning photos. Especially on that tour. I keep thinking that I should maybe apply to be a Capitol tour guide so I could specifically get the snakeskin eye patch.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yeah,
they should issue that to you.
I know.
Be like, here's your eye patch, here's your knowledge, go forth. And I will say though, and I don't know if this is just an Austin thing, but I spied not one Confederate flag in that tour of Austin or in the Capitol, whereas I have many times, and I, work right next to Washington State's Capitol. I have seen plenty. So I don't know what that means. But
Well, that's Austin. That's another
there you
back
go.
up to the cool list, the cool kid list.
This.
Yep. Yeah. We are proud. We're still proud Texans in Austin, but yeah, we won't find many Confederate flags here.
Okay, but so why is Austin? Okay, so why is the rest of the Texas the way it is? We've already established how Austin's cool, so
Well,
it seems like Austin's a little different from the rest of Texas when we stop and think about things.
it is. It is. But I would say that there is less difference as the years go on. I think especially we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, the more urban, the kind of the cities and the city centers have become a lot more similar to Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio areas. The thing with Texas, I think, and this is all me speaking right out of where, I don't know, I'm making this up, but what I think, this is what I think, it's big. So it has a lot of land for people to just be on their own and not really
Right.
know what's going on. And I imagine
When you
people,
say that, I imagine people wandering around in the snowdrifts. Like, I don't know what's going on.
well, that was exactly it at the beginning of February. People wondering around saying, we haven't even seen this on TV. No, I think that there is a lot more room for error in Texas because we are so big. So again, I think the cities, you'll notice that the cities, I think, are much more alike than they have been in the past.
Hmm.
Definitely, there's differences, but there definitely a lot more similarities than there have been. But we just have a lot of rural area in Texas, and
Hmm.
I think that contributes to some of the major differences. Again, that that I just pulled right out of I don't know, but I think that's it. I think I'm actually going to tell more people that.
Yeah, you've just developed
I've
a
just
social
developed a very
political
good
theory.
theory.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. Listen. Well, there's just like every 4 years we have a little like routine we go through in politics where we're like, is Texas going to go blue? And I now stop and think like, what does that mean, blue? Exactly. I mean,
Mhm.
generally it means voting for like the Democratic candidate
Sure.
for president, right?
Yep.
But there's differences between voting for Democrats and being like a Boston liberal, right?
Correct.
There's
Yeah.
there's a spectrum there.
Hmm.
But why is it that people keep saying Texas is going to quote unquote turn blue, and yet it does not quote unquote turn blue?
So, you always, I think that you've got a very, well, and I'll say minority, but I'll use it in a very loose sense because Texas really, if we're looking, at it politically, red versus blue, those types of things, we've been very split, like very close, kind of neck and neck. But the minority, which would essentially be, the Democratic voters, are are loud. I think that and they're the ones to respond to polls and respond to a lot of that data collection that
Mm-hmm.
when you're going through these elections, we're the first ones to be, oh yeah, this is how I'm voting, this is why I'm voting, everyone else should vote this way, and kind of go in that direction. And I think that we have a occasionally somewhat silent majority, and so we're always very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks it's like, oh, Texas is going blue. Look at all these people that are voting this way. And then suddenly it's just like this red wave hits you and knocks you right out. Um, but yeah, I think that is kind of why you normally get that initial Texas is going blue, and then whoops, no, it's not.
Listen, Beth, you're you're actually very smart because as you were talking, I was like, oh wait, I remember the answer to this question, and that's the one you gave me. I was like, oh wait, yeah, the answer is
The right
C.
answer.
You did it. Oh man. Because yes, I think I. Oh my gosh, I can. I'm not going to attempt to pull out his name, but I did hear a pollster talking about, like the differences in predicted polling results of the 2020 elections and what actually happened, and they keep coming back to there's clearly less and less people answer those like robocalls every year to say who you're voting for or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But clearly, like the rate is dropping faster for your conservative voters than it is for like not conservative voters, right? Like there are just like a certain group of the
Yep.
population who do vote and do not answer those calls or respond to polls. I think at first they thought, well, maybe what do they call it? The shy voter, right? The shy Trump voter who like is secretly
Mm-hmm.
going to vote for Trump, but maybe doesn't want to tell everybody they're going to vote for Trump. And at least the latest thinking that I heard was just that like, no, there are some of those folks, but the real answer is that there are people that just don't get polled. Like they don't pick up, they don't respond. And so
Yeah.
you in places like Texas, Florida, there's enough of them to make the difference. Um, well,
Oh,
let's talk about scooters. I forgot to ask you about scooters because I did point out, on the uncool side of the ledger,
oh,
aside from failing to turn blue repeatedly, you seem to have like
yep.
a surfeit of scooters in Austin. Um, this is a controversial topic where I'm at in Washington State because some cities are like ixnay on the Uterskay. Tell me.
Oh, you have no idea, Adam, how badly I'd like to purchase a pickup truck and spend every minute of my day picking up scooters and then throwing them into the river. It
Oh.
They have become they're not only quite frankly unsafe, and that sounds very old of me, but it's wise of me. They're not safe. No one knows if you're supposed to ride them on the sidewalk, the street, if you're supposed to hold on to somebody's bumper and just call it a day. No one understands that, and then they just leave them places. I mean, it is ultimately the equivalent of just drinking out of a Whataburger cup and throwing it on the sidewalk, only it's bigger. It causes more of a hazard.
Only a scooter comes out when you dump out your...
It is ridiculous, and there's so many companies now doing it. You've got Lime, and you've got Bird, and you've got Uber, and you've got just these other little mom and pop scooter shops, and it's that rhymed. It threw me off completely.
Keep going. Don't get distracted.
I rhymed.
I made a rhyme.
Yeah, it is. It really, I would love to include scooters in cancel culture. I'd love to 86 them, but they've now become just a way of life. And I will say, for Austin and for a lot of people, we don't have the mass transit that a lot of cities do. I think we're trying to get there. If you look at the taxes, the most recent tax increase, we're heading in a direction, but they are beneficial. But at this point, they're a nuisance, an absolute nuisance. I just want to scream it off my yard.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in the uncool.
Listen.
Column.
Okay, that's you decree that uncool.
I did.
You have strong opinions.
I do.
On the scooter issue.
I got heated.
It does seem a little incongruous to, like, you're cruising through Texas, you get to Austin, and while Austin is like a special place in Texas, it's still Texas. But then there's like all these people on electric scooters zipping around. Like, I don't know. It's my own prejudice. I didn't expect you to do that.
And I want to note on the scooters before moving on, they have zero shock absorption. So if you have
really?
bad joints, and I do, I have some bad joints, they are awful. It's just, you're just bumping along, just causing, more arthritis every block you go. It's truly awful.
But okay. Yes, and they cause arthritis as well. But before we go, though, Cece, and I know we've been talking for a while, but I do want to give you credit because you're doing this with bad joints right now, right? You were recently tragically injured in a non-scooter accident, and despite your disability, you showed up. But briefly tell everyone what occurred, because we were talking about it a little bit beforehand, and it sounded gruesome. And I mean, why wouldn't we?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We should definitely add that in. I would say, luckily, yeah, my joints aren't great. This particular accident didn't affect my joints, and I have been told that I am at no higher risk for arthritis because of this accident.
Oh, I was going to say, this is a very specific disclaimer.
I'll report back because I don't know. Yeah, as it turns out, golf carts are now also on my uncool list. I unfortunately was in a bit of a golf cart accident, and unfortunately the driver had lost control. We did a quick course correct, and the cart missed the side of a bridge, but I did not. So I went, we'll say, hip first into the side of the bridge, and on my right side, my left side got stuck. My left leg ankle area got stuck in the rear tire of the golf cart, and then I ended up pulling quite the gymnastics move and flipping over the side of the bridge and falling about 8 feet into a ravine, where I found myself.
Oh man!
Questioning why I play golf.
Yes, this was not part of golf. That is just horrific. Oh my god, you were like,
I
it sounds. Oh,
It was, and so what happened in summary was I did have a compound femur fracture on the right side
oh my
and a tibia and fibula fracture right above the ankle on the left. And
oh,
it was
blood
truly
pressure dropping.
truly something. I did not pass out. No one knocked me out on this, so I was awake, and I hadn't been through something quite that traumatic before, so it is really crazy, the adrenaline and shock, and when your body is like, no,
Oh
that's
man,
not something you can handle. We won't we won't hurt you that
yeah.
bad. But my leg was not in a great position. My right leg was going one direction, my left leg was going a different direction, and
Oh,
but I'm lucky. I'm here. I'm wheeling around, and I will say, I know you said I made it here despite the disability. Let me tell you, Adam, all I'm doing is sitting, so don't take credit for this.
oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, but I wanted to give you credit because, like, not only are you here, but you're laughing and yucking it up, whereas I might be filled with morbid thoughts and dismay for a long time after being attacked
Oh
by
yeah, attacked by a bridge. It was an immobile object, but yeah, it got me. And that's definitely the case. I think it's there are some highs and lows. This happened about 7 weeks ago, so I'm definitely on the mend and huge improvements. I'm not walking by myself. I've got a walker, which is great when I go out for my walker laps in the hallway.
Yeah, it's a
But
whole new peer group you've got there.
oh, it is. I've made new friends, and they're all faster than me, somehow, some way. But I did take my first unassisted steps in physical therapy yesterday morning.
Hooray!
I
Good work.
know it was exhausting. Felt like I ran a marathon. I've been sleepy since. No, it's been it has been a journey. It has been I've been so fortunate that I was alive and B have a support system like I do because I know we talked about this kind of before jumping on, but I've been an infant essentially that needs supervision 24/7. I joked with my parents, it's been 3 decades, 30 years since they were celebrating me rolling over and standing up and using the restroom on my own. And so uh,
Hooray!
they're exhausted. They're ready to jump in an RV and leave forever.
They're gonna hop on the nearest electric scooter. You're like,
They will go. They'll just ride off into the sunset on one of them soon. No, I've been lucky, but it doesn't come without just some definite definitely low lows. I thought I would start a new book and start reading about trauma and its effect on the human brain and kind of what to expect because I'd never been through this. And I started reading it and I got about 40 pages in and I said, oh my God, this is what I'm going to go through. No, I don't think I need to, I don't even know. Let's just let it happen.
You're traumatizing me right now with your graphic description of what I'm gonna go through.
I was like, clearly I've processed nothing. And I don't think we need to address this right now.
Oh man. Well, I hope that you do well and you recover spectacularly. I have great faith in you, but that does remind me of I am just throwing this out there. Grabbing it from the same place you grabbed your recent socio-political theory, but they somebody I think did a study of people who had been in car accidents, and they specifically found like couples that had been in the same accident. One of them remembers it, the other one doesn't. The person who doesn't remember it usually has like a faster recovery time because they don't have to process what they don't have in the tank, right? Like if you don't have that that memory, then you don't have to like integrate it. So I can see why would you want to go back? And I mean, maybe there's some point to thinking about it later in the future, but I can see how like, let me relive that a few more times in my old playback, like,
Let's look at all the details. I mean, it is very crazy. And when you speak of couples and going through, say, the same traumatic event, I assume you're talking about Tiger Woods and myself. Uh,
Yes.
but I was actually reading an article about Tiger Woods' recent accident, and he doesn't remember anything. He has zero recollection of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the other person in that relationship where I very, very clearly remember every instance, including the one where, you know, the paramedics come in, they're crawling down into the ravine, and they, you know, they initially, to get you out of a ravine, and it's with a leg that's essentially on backwards at this point.
Ugh.
They're kind of, they're like, oh no, what do we do? How do we get it out? Well, let's give her some pain meds first. And shot of fentanyl, and your girl was doing better than everyone else at the scene. I was, you know, I remember very clearly, I think trying to hit on every single one of the EMTs. And there really are not many details that I don't remember. And I think that that's part of it. I have now, instead of even trying to, people, that's what people keep saying. They keep saying, well, you can process it. You remember all of it. It's not like it's going to come up and scare you at some point in time.
Oh, why
And I'm like,
jump out of the shadows?
I can think about it all the time. It's like,
Yeah, you just carry it with you. Just...
I'm in constant fear.
It's no funnier than the snowstorm, and yet I laugh.
Well, you know, it's I laugh, and I think we're able to laugh because I am okay, and it's one of those things. It happens, and there will be things that come out of it. And like I said, it didn't affect my joints, and even though I have 12 new scars, one of which is a 10-inch gnarly bad boy.
Whoa.
Yeah, they are expecting full mobility and full recovery. So it was bad, but it could have been a lot worse. So that's why I can joke about it now. And I mean, if you saw me on a walker, you'd be very, very confident in joking about it.
Oh man. Well, yes, this is all going to end fine. That's what I'm getting out of this. Everything is totally cool.
Great.
All right. So we should probably wrap up. We're at an hour, but here's we're going to all tie it up in a bow.
Okay.
Beth, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
How does growing up in Fayetteville, nearby, but how does growing up in Fayetteville influence all of this? Like the Beth we have today. Like why is that? Why Beth is in Austin? Is that how Beth quickly recovers from drama? Is that why she has strong opinions on scooters? Do tell.
Is it why I vote blue? You know, I think that quite frankly, we moved to Fayetteville when I was when I was in second grade. And so I always, we moved from Houston. I kind of always have defined myself as a city girl, even though I lived for 12 years in Fayetteville. But I do think it is why I was in Austin. I remember very vividly, real quickly, everyone went to A&M. You went to Blinn, you went to A&M from Fayetteville. That was the goal. That was what you wanted. And I wanted the opposite. And so UT brought me to Austin. And, you know, I will say Fayetteville probably, if I had been on more golf carts or golf courses in Fayetteville, maybe I wouldn't have been on one this year. So I'm somehow blaming that. But yeah, I think it does. I'm a small town girl in a lot of ways, but I think it made me realize that I wanted to be in a city, and it brought me to Austin, and it definitely influences my views while living in downtown in a city as well. So yeah, I think it plays a huge role. And, you know, with family there or friends there, I can still go back and visit. But it's very different now. And then I see it in different ways now that I've been in Austin for 12 years. So yeah, I think it influences a lot. It probably, I will say what it influenced in a negative way is my driving. When you grow up in a town with no stoplights, just one yellow blinking light,
Right.
you quickly realize you're not a good driver when you get into a city.
Yeah.
You think you're one until you get here, and then you realize you're not one. So I think that there are a lot of ways that influence me, and I'd like to say that a lot of them are positive, but it also realized kind of where it made me realize where I wanted to be, and I'm excited that I ended up here.
Great. Wow. Look, see, you keep bringing it back to the positive. That's why you're here. It's just you're good to talk to.
I'm a positive person. No, you ask anyone else, I'm not. I'm a realist. It's a glass definitely empty.
Yeah. That sounds completely believable too, I think. I think everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm getting that vibe. I was lurking under the surface this whole time. Well, thank you, Beth, for joining.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
It has been fun.